At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about, how it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.
Thank you. We are live on Facebook and we are here today. Oh my God. You know, today's topic is something that somebody actually sent it to me and said, I really want you to talk about this. And the person, funny enough, actually chose two. The person actually chose two of the panelists and say, bring this person and this person back, because they are so passionate people and I want them back and I want them to handle this topic because I know they can. So I'm very happy today that I'm joined again with some panelists that were my guests that have been here before. And this topic is a very deep topic, but because we know it's 2021, we just started 2021. In the UK, we're on lockdown, we're in tier 5, some people in tier 5, some people in tier 4. Where I am is tier 4, and tier 4 means no going out, no meeting with your friends outside, no, unless it's hospital or food, that's it. Otherwise, you're not allowed to leave your house. So that's tier 4. Now, because of that, I normally don't share a Christian music or anything normally, but I'm going to share music because I really feel like our spirits with whatever is going on right now needs lifting up. My spirit needs lifting up. So I'm just going to share something with us and tell me if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
No voice. I can't hear it.
No volume?
No volume on my part.
Oh, Lord. Okay. So you can't hear it. No volume at all. You can't hear it. No volume.
No.
Ah, okay. So that means it flopped. Okay, let me share it again.
Yeah.
For my life, you have.
Can you hear it now?
I love you, Lord.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes.
For your mercy never failed me. All my days have been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. For my life you have been faithful. For my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love you, voice, for you made me through the fire. In the darkest night, you are close like no other. I know you as a father, I know you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. Hey! All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have sing of the goodness of God. All my life, your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after me. I surrender all, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me. Your goodness is running after. Your goodness is running after. With my life laid out, I surrender. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of your goodness all my life. I'm getting knocking at Jesus. You have been so good, yeah. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God, yeah. Sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of your goodness. I will sing of your goodness.
Wow. Thank you. I actually had to play that because what's going on right now, we really need God's intervention. And I just had to play that. Okay. So today, thank you very much, everybody, for joining me today. Today, I'm joined by our journalist. And before I even say the names, today we are represented from Tanzania, Zanzibar. I know Zanzibar and Tanzania is the same thing, but we have somebody from Tanzania, from Zanzibar, Ghana, and Kenya. And also around the globe, we are represented from USA. I always say Obama's land, and I love when I see anybody from USA because I'm like, yeah, Obama's land. And of course, UK as well. And I have a journalist. We have a journalist today with us, Ayub. We also have Sasha with us today. We have Moses Langat as well. We have Ken. And when it comes to Ken, I'm so happy to always say he's our governor because he's running for Nairobi governor. So he's our governor here today. We have our governor because we all vote for him because we want to see change. We also have Dr. Ben here with us. And we also have Sir Honorable Walter. And we also have Sheila. So I'll let everybody introduce themselves and tell us who you are and what you do. And I'll start with Sheila, please.
Hello, people. It's an honor to be here once again. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lydia, for this opportunity. Thank you, my fellow panelists, and thank you everyone else who's watching today from around the globe and everywhere. Thank you. It is indeed a good day today to be here to discuss this noble topic. I am Sheila Chebet. I am a life coach for my own school called Gene Coaching School. A life coach, basically, all the life coach does is just help people cope with life. Because sometimes life requires you to have someone to hold your hand when things are good, when things are bad, when things are okay. Just someone to be your friend. So a life coach is that. So I am a life coach, and it's an honor to be with you here all today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. Next, I'll go to our journalist, Ayub, please. Thank you.
I'm Ayub Bumzei. I am a journalist based here in the UK, especially in London. I'm also the director and founder of an organization called New Deal Africa, whereby we make sure that your voices are heard and you are seen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our journalist. And now I'll go to Sir Walter Nunga, please.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Walter Nunga. How the titles came about, that's what I need to clarify in the beginning before I get many questions. When I sent out my
Title.
ID or my title, I was working on a project with somebody else, and you know the power of technology, once it goes, it goes. So those titles, they're there, but maybe I'm right honorable in other areas and not the ones that people know to be knighted. Because once you, in our African culture, once you move to certain positions, you move stage by stage. You know, you graduate from childhood. As you get married, you become somebody and you go on. Anyway, long story short, I'm in the UK. I consult in business, but I also work in the transport sector of enforcing transport laws. And I'm here today. I'm glad to be here to speak on this issue, and let's debate and see the best way forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Walter. Okay, so I'll go to our governor, Ken.
Hey, Lida, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. It's a good evening. I'm Kenneth Joe, or Ken Ouko, because I'm changing that last name now. I'm going back to my roots. So I'm removing the Joe name and going back to Ken Ouko. I am supposed to be the incoming governor, even though I'm on lockdown in the London, entire 4 area. So I haven't been able to travel to Kenya. But I will be, and I am going to be the governor of Nairobi very soon, as Lydia says. So besides my interest in politics, I am an enthusiast in financial literacy. I have a financial literacy school focused on people of African origin. And then we also run gene coaching school with Sheila, as she mentioned. We are partners and we provide life coaching in gene coaching school. Besides many other things that I do in my life. So I hope that will come out in the process of this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our governor. Okay, so I'll go to Sasha, please.
Hi, my name is Sasha Serafin Bote. I'm a Kenyan living in Tanzania, empowering the girl child of Tanzania. Actually, let me just say the girl child of Africa in the spa industry. Most of the girls I work with are girls without a formal education. And I realized that they needed someone to push them forward. So I've been empowering them in the spa industry. And I also have a Women's Foundation, an NGO founded by my friend Jerry Dubey. It's based in America for the girl child of Kenya, but we in Zanzibar and many other African countries. So with Upendo, we give usable, washable pads to poor girls' schools in Africa so that no girl misses school for lack of sanitary towels.
Okay, thank you, Sasha. But can you also try and maybe increase the volume of your sound? Because we didn't really hear properly. We had to strain our ears before, okay? Thank you very much. So last but not least, I'll go to Dr. Ben, please. Unmute yourself, sir.
Okay. All right. Yeah. My name's Ben Olekoisaba, a native of Kenya. I live in the United States of America. I'm a researcher at the same time, business person. You know, I do consultancy in the area of multinational and international development. I'm also a founder and a convener of the Global One Voice Diaspora Consortium and Foundation, which probably by now some of you have heard because Lydia is one of our conveners in the UK. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to let people know that I know somebody one day asked me that why do you always bring people with titles and this, saying this. The reason why I always allow people to introduce themselves deeper is because we all know that we need each other to grow. We need each other to develop. Sometimes you need a service or you need a product. And if somebody introduces themselves and then they say, oh, maybe I'm a coach, example, or I'm a consultant, and you are actually here listening and you are looking for a consultant or you're looking for a journalist to tell your story, then you find them on the platform. So as they introduce themselves, it's not that we're bigging up ourselves, oh yeah, I'm this. No, it's just that I know that I'm here. And we have Ken as well, who wants to be a governor. You know that, oh, if he becomes a governor, I know him already. So, you know, and we can work together. So that is why we actually introduce ourselves, is nothing much to it. Now, coming back to our topic today, trafficking and slavery in Africa. We have a special guest who is going to join us today. In fact, she's here. I was just talking about special guest and she's here. She actually works with police in this field here in the UK. So she has much knowledge into what we're going to talk about, into the topic of today, trafficking and slavery. Because I know somebody was really concerned, especially on Facebook. They were asking me, they're really into this topic, but do we have somebody who is also qualified 100% to talk about this? Yes, everybody in this panel is qualified, but we also have Nema, who is our special guest, who is going to talk deeper as well into what's happening on the ground, because she actually works with police on this as well. So Nema, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Unmute yourself, Nema, we can't hear you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Lydia. I just need to put this out there. So I'm joining unofficially because it was short notice. So I'm here in my personal capacity and to also be able to share knowledge with you as we have a deeper conversation on the subject, which is extremely significant at this point in time. With COVID and everything, we staying home, so many people are susceptible to violence and whatever form of abuse that anybody experiences. So it makes the conversation of slavery and trafficking extremely important. And I should say congratulations for at least bringing this up for everyone, or for us to be able to learn about it. Having said that, the topic of the theme that we are discussing today have two angles. I think the topic said slavery and trafficking in Africa. But I think majority of our audience are in UK and Europe. So how the subject is treated back home is a little bit different as to how the laws within UK and then Europe assess the topic. Why am I saying this? Our culture back home plays a significant role. I'll give you a simple case study where it's so normal back home to have house help. It's so normal for you to have an auntie within the village, bring a cousin who has no help to the city to help you in the house. And all you have to do is either feed that child on the promise that you're going to make sure that you take care of the child. As subtle as it is a form of modern slavery. As subtle as it is, because your understanding is that you're giving a promise to the family back home because the child do not have the basic needs that the family has to provide, and you are going to be in the position to provide such needs. But so many people along the way, within a year or two, it turns into some sort of abuse for such children. They are coming into your home to take care of the household, to clean, because you are a career woman, your family, you have a career family, I should say. that child is basically taking care of your home. And the subtle abuses that goes on there is that sometimes the men in the house, the husbands in the house, end up either abusing these children. It's either the husband or there is an older son in the house, or there is someone older in the house. They tend up abusing the child. Another form is that, the child is taken care of, say a younger child. The child is not doing right. And then there is physical abuse. You didn't sweep here well. You didn't do this well. You didn't do that well. So all these kind of subtle abuse, if we decide to open them up, it comes at the backdrop of you doing good to a family. And then it turns into all these kind of ripples of abuse in that case. Having said that, we also have cases of children or adults being either trafficked into Europe. And I think that is where the chunk of the problem is. Here in the UK, there are evidences of houses having domestic servitude. It is against the law. It is against the law. You would think it's only back home where you have all these kind of maids, nannies, in quotes, I'm putting them in quotes in that way, for you to have these kind of domestic servitudes. But it is against the law. I'll give you a typical example of how this works. Somebody, a career family comes here. They have a very good job that they are doing. They decide they need help because they have kids. We all know the system within the UK. So we're going to bring someone home. They wouldn't get the actual, say, if you are bringing your family here, it's based on the background of settlement, right? They'll rather get you tourist visa, which is just 6 months, to bring such a person here, because they will be able to give you that kind of visa. Bring that person in the UK. Within 6 months, the visa has expired. They wouldn't renew it for you. All you are doing is that you are locked within that person's home. And for years to come, it's donkey services. You take those children to school, you bring them back, you clean, you do all sort of things, and you earn nothing. So I'm just trying to paint a picture so that it will help the kind of conversation that we will be able to have. So I'm only, Lydia, with your permission, I'm only going to drop simple scenarios as to what the realities on the ground, which will be able to inform the bigger conversation that we will have at the end of the day. So the story that I'm telling of you bringing a child here, tourist visa of just say 6 months, you are in, it's not renewed over that kind of period. And that person does not earn anything. The person doesn't have any NI, does not have any NHS registration. So if you bring somebody here, say 10 years old, and the person is serving you by 18 years, that person is an adult. The person has no legality within the country. The person has also grown past the chance where the system will be able to support such a person. And when you go deeper into it, there is so much abuse in it. It's either the madam of the house is abusing such a person. One, the person is not earning anything. If you are not earning anything, assuming such a person works within a week, gives you just £10 to take care of yourself. The food that is in the house. In fact, it's so many things that comes into play. And these are very, very subtle within the African community. And the truth is, it's right under our noses. In our churches, you see them coming with all these kind of withdrawn children. They don't even dress like their own kind of children. And it's right under our nose. Pastors know, pastor's wife know, some of the members of the churches know. And we treat it as if, oh, this auntie brought a cousin from home. We should be thankful to them. Simply because they were able to send a visa to such people. In fact, we should be thankful to them for bringing such a child. But in truth, if we assess these cases of such children, over whether children or an adult, over such a period, the person wouldn't be able to have a gratifying future or a gratifying hold of his or her life at the end of the day. The other thing is, it's not only women. Within the Asian community.
Can I cut you there, Nema? I'll come back to you again, okay? Because I want someone else as well to hear someone else's opinion. And before that, I just want to say thank you to all our viewers today. Thank you so much. And I know some people have started telling me they're sharing already. So thank you very much, because we're always in this together. So thank you. Keep on sharing so that other people can come and have the knowledge as well. And I totally appreciate what Nema was talking about. So it's good if we all learn and grow and appreciate each other. So please, your comments are welcome. Thank you, Mary Otuko, for that comment. Your comments are welcomed. Your ideas, your suggestions, and I'm going to try and read. And people in the panelists as well, try and respond to them. I can see Ken have started responding already, and Sheila. Thank you very much. So I'll move on to Sheila. Sheila, let me hear your views. And when Nema was talking, I saw you smiling and writing a lot of things down, and I was sure you have so many points to.
Okay, if I will start by commenting on what Nema has said. We do have modern day slavery. When people hear of the word slavery, they think of the colonial times, something perhaps of that movie with slavery that the Kenyan actress acted. You know, we think it's something long time ago. And sometimes we think it's something that happened in the plantations in Jamaica and old Europe, and, you know, something that happened far away in America. Sometimes we don't think it's right here in Africa where Africans live. Sometimes we don't think it's even right here in our homes. And yes, there is slavery, certainly in Kenya. The way we treat our house help, or the way we treat the poor relatives, it is slavery. Because what is slavery? Slavery is basically exploiting someone for their labor and giving them nothing. So that is happening right from our very homes, right from childhood. And the thing is, we normalize it. So you find in that household, as Nema has said, in that household, when you've taken this child of a poor relative and said, let them come and work with us and let them, you know, be cleaning and washing. Now you find that child has come from the village, he's 10. In that house, there are children that maybe are 10, 9, 8, younger than him or the same age. This 10-year-old child from the village is meant to serve these other children of the house. So you find even if they take this 10-year-old to school, he or she goes to a different school from the children of the house. So you are normalizing to the children of the house that it's okay to treat poor people differently. It's okay, you know, to make them serve you. And that is where slavery becomes normalized and it goes on to the next generation. This takes care, they package it something like love. But coming now to the other hard slavery we're talking about. When we grow up with this poor treatment, it makes us, as Black people, very open to also accept poor treatment from people. So you find when we come here in the West, there is also modern day slavery in the employers, in the jobs that we do. So we're going to do this work, we get little to nothing. You find a country like the UK, there is minimum wage. Some of us are working below that minimum wage. Some of us work and the employer doesn't pay us. But we don't know how to voice that because we've normalized this kind of cheap labor or free labor. We've normalized it. It's very okay. We've normalized suffering. All that feeds into this slavery notion because we made it look like it's okay, especially if there's a little thing you get out of it. So you start hearing words like bora uhai, or Mungu cannot give me bigger things that I can handle, or better days lie ahead. You know, that kind of thing. We're basically normalizing slavery, pure and simple, nothing much to it.
Okay. Thank you. And would you say that slavery has been misinterpreted? Because like what you said, and Nema rightfully said, we have like example, they even give them a name and they call them botch because they just find a name and they give them. So example that, I know Nema, you don't know what botch is, but it's a house help. That's why they call them in Kenya. And the same people who are really treating these house helps with so much disrespect, they'll think that they'll stop looking at that and they'll look at the bigger slavery that people are being taken from Africa. People are being taken from Kenya and taken to Saudi Arabia. I know somebody has spoken about the Saudi Arabia here at the Arab countries. That's where slavery is really bad. But we forget that it starts from our home. So if we start tackling it, that's slavery and exploitation, and we start tackling from home, I think that is where the structure will start from home, rather than looking at the bigger picture, or the government is sending our people these days. But we are forgetting that the same people are living in our houses, and we are actually we've actually enslaved them in our own homes, but we're looking outside. So I'll think I'll go next. I'll go to Ben, Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben, please.
All right. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share a few things that I've known, seen in the past regarding human trafficking and modern slavery. Trafficking in persons or human trafficking and modern slavery are used as umbrella terms to refer to both sex trafficking and compared labor. Generally, like my colleagues, panelists have said, human trafficking involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex. On a global perspective, as of 2018, the countries with the most slaves were India, which had 8 million, China had 3.86 million, Pakistani had 3.19 million, North Korea had 2.64 million, Nigeria had 1.39 million, Iran had 795,000, while Philippines had 784,000. Why am I doing this? I am sharing this so we get the global picture. So when we talk about human trafficking and modern slavery, we have that global picture. How about us coming to Africa? Because that is the subject of our discussion today. Africa, in 2018, Africa recorded the highest rate of modern day enslavement in the world. This is as a result of armed conflicts, state-sponsored forced labor, forced marriages, which led to 9.8 million Africans living in servitude without the choice to do whatever they want to do. And that is from what we call our global slavery index. All right, so what is modern slavery? Because my colleague panelists have said, when you talk about slavery, people, think it's, this thing that happened 500 years ago. Any act that involves sex trafficking, anything that involves child sex trafficking, forced marriages, which we know are very common in Africa, forced labor, burden labor or debt bondage. You are put to debt and you're used to work because you owe, and we know in communities when we have strife, when we have anger, people are made to go work. People get food, for instance. In return, you go work. That is still slavery. Or like what we've said, Naima and Sheila have said, domestic servitude. It like in Kenya, it's a norm. Like if you do not have a maid, then people will look at you like, oh man, what's wrong with this guy? What is wrong with this family? But when you look at the circumstances that those house helps work and assess them, you will realize that, we use a term called domestic servitude. And of course, we have child labor. Look at the communities that live around coffee farms, tea farms, in Kenya, or areas where people have a son. You see, you realize that, after school, this kid has to run to do something in order to provide for the family. And of course, with the conflicts in Africa, that is a phenomenon that has come, which is unlawful recruitment and use of child soldiers. We've read that in Sudan, we've read that in Uganda, in Somalia too. Every country that has got, that kind of a situation where there's conflict, there's war, you realize that children are forced to get into the armed forces as children. And that is part of what we call modern slavery. Then finally, who is this called a slave?
Okay.
Any person, anybody that are forced to work against their will. It doesn't matter the circumstance. If you're forced to work against your will, then you're a slave. Any person who is owned or controlled by an exploiter or employer, because I pay you the money, I own and control you, I determine everything about you, that person can be termed as a slave.
Okay.
Any person who has no freedom, any freedom of movement, you can't go, you can't do. I mean, we know even here in the United States, some of our people bring our people from Kenya and we underemploy them. They don't have papers. They sit in the house. You pay them $5. I've been a victim of that when I came to the United States. This good neighbor of mine decides to employ me in an adult family home and pays me $5. Don't go. I am providing you with a room. I'm providing you with a bed. I'm paying you this $5. You ain't going nowhere. You sit there, you know? That's part of slavery.
Can I come back to you, Dr. Ben? Yes. Thank you very much for your contribution. But before I can go, let me just read some of the comments or some people are said. Thank you so much, our viewers as well, for coming in and join. Somebody say, I agree with Nema on how children of poor relatives are enslaved and abused by rich relatives back home. It is so wrong and awareness of this needs to be raised and addressed. And someone said in the Middle East countries have the worst cases of such slaveries and abuse. Someone said, is exploitation same as slavery? And Nema, if you can write this down, I'll give you time to answer this. Is exploitation same as slavery? And you can walk away of the situation. And then is exploitation same? Okay, somebody answered that as well. And then someone said, modern slavery, you brought yourselves, not known. I don't understand that. Maybe somebody's trying to say modern slavery, we cost it on ourselves. If you came and you're working under situations that we shouldn't complain. And someone said, oh, very true, girl. So many people have been abused in the name of, it's me who did this and that. It's me who did this and that to you. So you can do what I want. Someone can't be in a position to voice out because of fear. And slavery is exploitation. Oh yeah, Sarah, Sheila actually answered that, but I'll need Nema as well to expand on that, but Sheila did answer that. Thank you so much, Sheila. And then someone say, Africans, we are our own enemies, so we should stop complaining. I didn't think this is a complaining. I thought this was just creating awareness out there and seeing, I don't like when people always say that you Africans, they stop complaining. And that is why we'll always be where we are. We're not complaining, we're just airing our views and objectives and finding a solution to how things can be done differently. And I'll let Sheila answer that because I can see her, she's so passionate about these things. Okay, so thank you very much. Moving on, and then we're going to, okay, just looking at some stuff there. Okay, so I'll go to Ayub, Mzee Ayub. Mzee Ayub, please, if you can just take over.
Thank you, my sister and honorable lady Olette, for giving me this opportunity. But I want to start by saying, as a broadcaster and a journalist, that it is my view, which I want to share with you, that this kind of conversation we are having now, for broadcasting purposes, it should rhyme. It should not be like a seminar that you have in a hall and people are making presentations. Otherwise, it won't be a product for future reference. Somebody will look at it once or twice and he will just switch off. Or somebody will switch off along the way, because it should not look like a presentation of seminars. We should have a conversation so that whoever is watching us now will feel part of this event, other than looking like a seminar where everybody has got his paper that he's presenting. So given the fact you're putting me down the ladder to say something, I believe most of the people who have said things here, they have said most of the issues that I wanted to discuss. So I will be getting this from another angle. I think Sister Naima Ahmed, sorry if I must say, you must be from Nigeria?
No, Ghana.
Okay,
She's
because
from Ghana.
I've been to Nigeria, most of the northern part and southern part, and to the creeks as well, trying to work out what is happening with trafficking and with the Boko Harams and all that in places like Maiduguri, Kaduna, Katsina, and all the way up. I thought you were from those areas. Now, what do I wanted to say is that it is my view that war, conflict, and poverty is the cause of what I wanted to tackle in this conversation today, child trafficking. Because it is my view that child trafficking will make more sense to our listeners than anything else and our sponsors. And I would kindly ask Sister Olette to let us concentrate on Africa, because this is an African conversation in areas where this is rampant. I'm talking about northern Uganda. I'm talking about Kenya as well. I'm talking about Nigeria. I'm talking about Southern Sudan. This is where this issue of child trafficking is rampant and common and needs to be addressed by our conversation here today, because I believe it goes places. Like Brother Ole, Ben Ole, Dr. Ole in the United States said, issues like exploitation, what has been its consequences and its origin, and he spoke about his own position. But I just wanted to say that people, especially girls, if somebody has got a conversation about girls being forced into child labor, sex exploitation, and things like that, that will make a very good conversation. And I should let Sister Olette know that there's a big organization here in London called Afruka.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've worked with them before.
Afruka, they work on this matter. So for future reference, next time, or anybody in the police like Sister Ahmed, you must be aware of Afruka. You have unmuted yourself.
So actually I work with Afruka, and Afruka has a project called BASNet, and I'm the network manager for BASNet. So BASNet is the BME anti-slavery network across UK. So it's a project being handled by Afruka. Yeah.
I'm honored to meet you as well, and your managing director is my friend, and I was heavily involved in setting up Afruka. I should let you know that.
Awesome. She's an amazing lady.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I will ask Honorable Olette to let me go, but before I go, I just wanted to talk, us to concentrate on issues like displacement, sexual slavery, economic exploitation, and domestic slavery in our community. That will rhyme and it will make sense to our listener and even a sponsor and somebody else who wants to refer to this product for future reference, because it's going online. People will come back to it who are not with us now and listen to what we discussed. But I'm honored to have Sister Naima Ahmed here today.
Pleasure all mine. Same here.
Honorable host, relieve me of my duties now. I'll keep listening, but I'll contribute later as we go on. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ayub. Okay, thank you. So I'll go to Ken, our governor, please. Oh, you're muted.
Ken.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Lydia. I would like to agree with the speaker who just went, because we need to have a discussion. This is a discussion that's being watched on social media, and it's a panel of people bringing in different views from different places. So we don't need to have like a seminar of sorts, because people will zone out. We need to have a discussion of reality of what's happening on the ground right now. And because we talked about slavery, we also need to think about what's happening in North Africa, and not just Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, or East Africa. So we need to focus on Africa as a whole and why it's happening. We need to put the discussion in context for us to be able to actually bring up a proper guided discussion. We have to put everything into context. Let's not, because slavery is such a huge topic. If we go all over the place without proper guidance and context, we end up losing the discussion and losing the objective of the whole discussion. So that context is very important. So I want to put it into context this way, that when we are discussing some of the issues that we suffer from as Africans, we need to contextualize them. We need to talk about real problems that we face. We need to talk about exact things that are happening that the media out there is not telling us. Because if we discuss the same things that the main media is showing, then actually we're not making any progress, because we end up just going over the same things that are being discussed out there. But when we discuss these issues as Africans, we tend to discuss them from our experiences, from our beliefs. So we need to ask ourselves questions like, why are these things happening? And try and answer those questions from the panelists, from different experiences and different backgrounds. So number one, I would say this. I would ask myself the question of, why is there slavery up to this moment? Why is there slavery in Africa, be it sexual slavery, whatever form of slavery we're talking about? It doesn't also matter how we classify them right now. What matters is that something wrong is happening, and we all know how they're happening. We all know about human trafficking. We all know about house managers or housemates being slaved in Middle East. We all know about the modern day slavery in Libya happening now because of the refugees crossing through to Italy. We all know about the forms of slavery. It's not about the classification. That's not what matters. What matters is, why is it happening and how can it be stopped? Now, my biggest question is, why are our people in the Middle East, for instance? Why are our people in Libya? Why are our people in these situations where they are so abused and so degraded? Number one would be the failure of our systems. And these are the things we need to talk about. There must be a failure somewhere in our systems that we are unable to address these issues at home. And therefore, our people have to run away and cross through Libya into Italy and be abused there, be sold there, be killed there, and be slaved in those places. So we must say that, first of all, let's address this issue from home. We have failed as leaders. Most of our policies towards these issues have failed. So at the local level and at the national level, we have completely failed. The reason why our people are suffering in Libya and trying to cross over into Europe is because the systems at home cannot sustain them. There is rampant poverty. There is political abuse and political assassinations. There's lack of proper social economic systems. And therefore, our people end up looking for opportunities in the Middle East and in Europe. If we talk about this issue of ladies going to Saudi Arabia and being made slaves in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai and places like that, it's because they lack the right conditions back at home. It's because that we haven't created the conditions for them to survive in our own countries. So I believe that the first thing that has to be addressed are the policies that we have locally so as to avoid these issues. Number two, I would go to the international level. The international level, I would say that the UN and the International Labour Organization have both failed us. These are organizations that we have to shine light upon them as Africans. We have to speak openly and say, these organizations that have been formed and that are funded by money from Europe haven't done what they're supposed to do. For example, the UN has been funding the detention centers in Libya because they are trying to avoid the crossover to Italy. So when they are funding these people, and they know very well that the money does not go to the government, they know very well that the money that they are using to fund those people goes to the militias that control the harbor through which people cross into Italy. The UN as an organization have enough resources and enough people to ensure that the money that trickles down there doesn't go to the wrong hands. But they haven't done that. When we are doing our elections in Africa, the UN is very hand-on to make sure that we are doing the wrong things and they report it. When people are being slaved in Libya, the UN has been quiet over it. And actually it's been found that it's their money that funds those people. They fund those detention centers, but they do not do enough research to know what is actually happening in the detention centers. So such discussions have to shine that light onto these organizations that have been there for a long time. Let's begin the discussion and say, you know what, the UN has failed, the media has failed, the local leaders have failed because they can't speak about it. And the reason our local leaders cannot speak is because they are feeding from the same hands. If the UN is funding people in Libya that are blocking Africans from crossing, it's the same UN that funds organizations in Africa, that funds organizations in Kenya. So there's no way a leader is going to stand up and chastise the UN for not doing their job in Libya while they're eating from the same hand. You see why we are in a very difficult situation. If you do not have any economic standing as a country, you have no voice and no platform to chastise anybody, to ask for anything, or to demand for your own basic rights. So I believe these are some of the things we need to address. So I'll let go and I'll continue more later.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We are still on. But I want to say thank you as well to people who are watching, because I always want everybody to feel like they're part of us. So it's not us here and them there. So just to read some of the comments as well. Someone says, Africans, we are our own enemies. No, we like to bring each other down, too much negativity among us. Someone say, I can say it's upon us to vibrate slavery to ourselves. I've been a victim of that myself. And Sheila, as a coach, mentored me and I walked away, and so far, so good. At first, I thought I couldn't survive. So, well done, Sheila, for doing a good job there. Poverty contributes greatly to slavery as the victims hold on as they don't have alternative. That's something that almost everybody here have spoken about. Encouraged to see help as a way out of bondage. But some of the poverty is caused by people getting used to outside donations and don't depend on themselves. They like just give. And someone said, Africans are not poor, just lack of power, knowledge, and wisdom, and being too generous. And how or rather where does it begin? Why do some countries have it more than others? Trafficking, I think that person is talking about what Dr. Ben said. So that's a question there. That why is it that some countries have it more than others, or especially what journalist was talking about as well in Nigeria. And Africa have the knowledge, but greed and ignorance is tearing the continent, somebody's idea. There are more slaves now than it was in history. And thank you very much. I'll stop there, but we do have, Ken, you are saying the truth. People are even risking their lives to cross to Europe via Libya with boats so as to get green pastures in Europe. The African government has failed its citizens. And even nowadays, you find a professional doctor in Africa prefers working abroad as a cleaner and get good income than being a doctor in a big hospital with peanut salary in Africa. So yes, so people have, thank you so much, everybody, once again, for your contributions, for your comments, for your likes, and for your share. Thank you so much. So I'll come back to my panelists. So now I'll go to Sasha. Sasha, please, before we open before we open the platform for discussion. Sasha, I have Sasha and I have Sir Walter. Yes, Sasha.
Okay, so yeah, so basically what I'm going to say is that Neema, Sheila, Ayub, Dr. Ben, and Ken have touched on everything that I would have wanted to touch on. They've started from the grassroots, that is the house help, that is where it starts with domestic slavery. But I would like to concentrate on what Ken was speaking about, the system. The system is the government. So the government is the main oppressor. And when a community is oppressed, they're definitely gonna continue breaking each other. And that is what has happened to us here in Africa and even the Black people in the diaspora. We are so broken by the system that is why you see now that it is hard to see a family with a mother and a father in the house. It's either the dad has the kids or the mother has the kids. So we have been broken from home. So it is very, very difficult to build us because we are broken from the grassroots. And what happens, what makes this happen? When the government keeps on borrowing and borrowing funds, they are enslaving us with taxes, and we are not even getting any benefits from those taxes. You go to a hospital, you don't get the services that you need. You go to a government office, you have to bribe your way. So the system is broken from the grassroots to the top. And what makes this happen? Because even the government who is oppressing us is also oppressed. Even the governments, they have their own bosses from European nations. So it's a chain. It's a chain from the government to the civil servants to the house girl. It goes like that, and it goes like that. And what we need to do first is to educate our people and to first fight mental slavery in Africa, because I think the physical abuse our ancestors received, I think, was better than the mental enslavement they were given, that they passed from one generation to the next generation. What do I mean by this? Like now, we are unchained slaves here in Africa. In every family I know, at least from where I'm coming from in Nairobi, there is a family that tried to send one of their family members abroad. Most of the time, we will find that you are paying for a visa for $200. That is like 20,000 Kenya shillings. That 20,000 Kenya shillings, you might be denied that visa like 5 times. So you are funding that European nation right from your continent with your own money, because also the way we were trained in school, we were taught to ignore that which is in front of us and dream of that one which is so big that we have not received, even after taking the education system that we were given. I will speak about Kenya. In Kenya, we did 8-4-4. You do primary school, you do 8 years, then 4 years in secondary school, then 4 years in university. You get out of university with a degree. You don't have a job unless you know someone in the system. And then you stay for a few years, and since you're not getting a job, you have friends maybe abroad, there's someone out there who wants to exploit you, and they start telling you of how they make money out there. And sometimes that's how you end up, like what Sheila was saying, you end up being abroad and you realize that you're a slave in somebody's house. So if we are going to fight slavery in Africa, we must fight it first from the grassroots. And how are we going to fight it? We are going to fight it by educating our people. And I'm not talking about the European education that you are given. Young people in Africa were taught that jobs like farming are for dirty people or people who are not educated. Our parents sold their farms to take us to school. Now we don't have the farms, we have the degrees, but we don't have the jobs, and the land is gone. So it's a chain, and unless we educate ourselves about this, it is a systematic oppression that was created to recolonize Africa after independence.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sasha. Thank you so much. So I'll go to Walter.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot has been echoed. I don't even know what to say, but there's always something to say at the end. Looking at it, where the basis of everything starts is from, I'll talk of food security. If you look at food security on the terms of children being exploited, right, to go and work in the farms, you find a child may go and work there for next to nothing or nothing at all, because they want to get food and have something for their family. So we need to come out and have our, let's talk of African governments, to secure our basic needs. Let's talk of food security from the beginning, as where we depend on food. When I talk of food security, I look at things like raw materials. We, as the African continent, are being exploited for the raw materials, which has happened for years and years and is still going on up to date. These raw materials are being used for everything, even the computers, laptops we're using today. For us to move away from this slavery and trafficking, one thing we need is economic independence. And this can be achieved by, these raw materials should not be let, our system are letting them go for nothing, which is painful. These materials you have platinum, you have gold, you have uranium, the list is endless. Africa has been drained over and over again, but we need to have our people in place who have integrity, who are ready to do the right thing, right? Because if they don't do the right thing, we'll never get where we're supposed to get to. All of our resources are being depleted. And it does not make sense. Like, for example, Kenya, you have coffee, tea. It's been sold from 1960s that I know, or from 70s. It's being sold as a raw product, being processed abroad, then come back and sold back to you. Something is wrong there. That is where our problems start. Our raw materials are being depleted and being brought back to us. And that is where our problems start, because we, as the people on ground, we are losing out. And this is our this is our basic. If we can protect these raw materials from being processed out, look at Nigeria, we have oil. The oil is being exported as crude oil. Why can't it be processed and all the byproducts sold off? We need to protect that in order to end this slavery and modern day slavery, where we have brain drain in the sense that we have so many individuals out here in the diaspora who have been educated and everything else, and their resources or their knowledge is benefiting our colonial masters, so to say. But our people or our governments are not seeing that. They're letting that go away. We need our governments to have integrity, to protect us, to make us propel forward. If you look at what happened in America the other day, where they invaded the Capitol Hill, where I'm going to say those people had their own integrity to protect each other. You see that the people who are not protesting, they call them protesters or terrorists, what you want to call them. The police never fought them. They never went towards them, and they're being watched. But if it was a black man out there, they would have been shot or injured or something. So those people have their own integrity to protect their own. We need to have our own integrity to protect our resources and our own environment, and protect our children, our mothers, our fathers, our wives, everybody. Because if you don't protect the basic, you're lost. I'll stop there.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. So I'm just going to read again what some people have said. Thank you so much, Facebook. Thank you so much, our viewers, for today. Just to read so that we are together. Thank you so much, Ken and Sheila. They've actually been communicating with people on Facebook, which is really good, because we need to make them feel like we are together in this. And someone said, Ken, you are saying the truth. People are even risking now. I'm reading that again because I saw another Ken. So someone say, how can we protect it? If the person who has a raw material is given little money, they accept. Our government is not the problem. It is us, the local community. We choose the government. Someone say, are we able to hold accountability, the government officials responsible for each industry, the decision makers? Ken, I'm really enjoying and learning more through the talk. Actually, this platform is the best and it really empowers me. Imagine hearing opinions from different people. It sounds good. Somebody said, nobody wants to become a slave. People are either trafficked or smuggled. Smuggling, there may be aspect of consent, but you end up being a victim of trafficking and exploited for sexual abuse and servitude. And someone also said, let's differentiate between people who become slaves because they want to lead luxurious life, those who have been forced into slavery due to economic situations in their own country, and those who are forced into slavery So someone said we need to actually identify those three. Okay, so now I'm going to have an open discussion, but just to answer. Okay, I'm going to open an open discussion, but I'm going to start with Nema. First of all, Nema, I did give you a question, and I know Sheila did respond to that, but if you can just expand to that more, and then I'll open a discussion, but I'll start with you as well to open this discussion so that we can all unmute ourselves and just have a debate. But I'll let Nema, first of all, answer that question.
Thank you so much, Lydia. So the question was, is exploitation same as slavery? And exploitation is the resultant effect of slavery. It is the resultant effect of slavery. So according to the Met Police, in this case, I think I need to make it clear, we are no longer just talking about slavery. There is a quote on it of modern slavery, because there are so many facets of slavery brewing now. So modern slavery is an illegal exploitation for personal or commercial gain. So when you talk about, in that, it covers a wide range of abuse, exploitation, that includes sexual exploitation, domestic servitude, I think we've talked about that, forced labor, criminal exploitation, and organ harvesting. I know some people have heard about that. We've talked about, I think some of us have talked about the issues going on in, I think, UAE. They do organ harvesting as well. The rich within Europe who have all these kind of sicknesses, they need hearts, they need whatever part of the body, they can't get it. They go back into our homes, and when I say home, back to Africa, fortify a way of saying, oh, I'm going to adopt. Some of these kids end up harvesting their organ. Some. Yeah. That's the stress is on some, not all of them. Some go back, oh, I'm going to adopt. All these kind of adoption going on. Some are just coated in, how do I say it? It's covered in a gloomy way, let me say. So you think your child is being taken somewhere, and then all of a sudden you don't hear anything. All these issues do happen. I think Dr. Ben also said something which I really, really wanted to comment. He gave a definition of trafficking. To be honest with you, I'm very much enthused about child trafficking. About adult trafficking, I think in the comments somebody talked about some people make conscious effort. Even if you tell them, when you go to this country, they will kill you. We still have adults still going to all these UAE countries still to go into domestic servitude. No matter how you tell them, you get it, because they have their minds made up. But then the bigger issue comes to children being trafficked into such servitude. Because one thing is that when I think when the UN defines what child trafficking is, it includes transportation, it includes on the reception of the person. The only difference is the means, because children do not have the means to give consent. They haven't reached the age to give consent. When you're telling them, I'm taking you to auntie whatever in, say, Nairobi, or I'm taking you to auntie in Ghana, that child do not have legal consent to say, I will go or I will not go. So even if that child has an opinion, it doesn't matter. So it becomes easier to exploit children in the conversation of slavery and trafficking. I hope that is a little bit clear. For adults, when it becomes a legal issue, the bigger conversation is on the means. Did you give consent for you to be taken from point A to point B? Was there any exchange of money? Because in some of our homes, say, whether Ghana, Nigeria, and all these places, individuals themselves pay money to madams to say, I want to go to Europe. Please help me go to Europe. So there is an exchange of money there. But for children, it can only come in when, say, a parent or a guardian of a child takes money to send that child away. And in that case, that child is being sold away. I hope I'm getting that clearer for conversation purposes. So having that clear distinct between child trafficking or child slavery, or in whatever form you want to put it, is extremely important. My other worry is that I think Walter, I don't know whether it's Walter or Ken, talked about we have the center of it all is we being able to have economic independence. And I asked you whether all our panelists are within UK. It's good that we are having conversation projected on Africa. It's extremely good. But I will be honest with you, those within Europe, there is a bigger fire brewing. There is a whole form of modern slavery brewing right under our noses. So we may be concerned of what is going on. Those within Europe, you all have your economic independence, but we are so capsulated with we making money that we sometimes forget about our children, and we don't even know who is exploiting our children. And our children are being exploited in ways that is a whole new level of modern slavery. And that is where the conversation of county line trafficking, all these, we have our sons being exploited into gangs, into drugs, into so many arenas. You think you are making money. You think you are making the luxuries for your family back in Kenya, in Ghana, in Nigeria to exalt you under the negligence of your own kids. So here we are, poised with our English and our big words, talking about modern slavery in Africa. By the time we realize the very families that we are raising in Europe are enslaved in a whole different form. And I think as much as this is a significant issue, once we start this conversation, I think Ken talked about it, we need to conceptualize it. What are we looking at? Which demographics are we looking at? How is this happening? How does the law talk about it? Because the laws within UK is significant, but then again, it has its own loop. And I think that is where my work comes in. The laws within UK is very diverse, but then it neglects the Black and minority ethnic groups because they do not understand our culture. They do not understand our situation. So if you get exploited, say an auntie brings you back from Kenya to serve in, say, UK as a nanny or on the guise of modern slavery, in that alone, they do not understand. Something is so normal, but people are dying in that line. How do I come and serve you for, say, 10 years? I do not have any legal entitlement within UK. I do not have any health insurance. And if anything happens to me, I will be sent back home. In fact, in the quickest form of sender, back home. You get it? So whilst we are having this conversation, we need to conceptualize it. We need to look at the context of where we are having this conversation. If it's within UK, Lydia, I'm telling you, there is a whole different form of modern slavery brewing right in Europe, brewing right in UK. We've seen how our sons are dying. All these knife crimes and all these coming on. Right under your nose, your children, your sons are doing Yahoo, Yahoo. You don't know how they've been exploited. You don't know who enslaved them. Let me put it that way. You may be their parents, but then their bosses are somewhere. Yeah. You wake up 5 a.m., you are out there working your ass off, excuse my French. But then your children are also working their ass off for other people without you knowing. So we will talk about the madams, we will talk about all those people. We also need to look at a very chunk of our conversation of how our children are being enslaved, how our children are being trafficked, how our children are being exploited for the benefit of other people, and how vulnerable our children are now. We need to look at all the. I think I'll end here so that I don't keep on blabbering. I may,
Thank you very much, Nema. And once again, thank you very much, of course, our viewers as well. And thank you, Ken and Sheila. I can see your workings there so much, and Walter as well. Thank you very much for your comments on Facebook, because we always want to make them feel that we are together. It's not you there, we here. We are together. That's why we also read their comments and their views and what they're saying. And someone say, all Africans, we really need to change our mindsets. And okay, this one is written in Swahili. And I think Caroline Adenya, this is something that this is really deep. And if this lady should actually be reported, if this is what she's doing. So she said it in Swahili. So everybody here can understand Swahili apart from Nema. Kuna mwanamke wa Kiafrika Sweden anapenda sana kusmuggle wakimbizi kutoka Italy for ngono purposes. After kuwa sex abuse, she then insult them in front of cameras on Facebook. So she just said, for people who don't understand, that there's a woman who actually does that in Sweden, and then she, after using them for sex and abuse, she then insult them in front of the camera on Facebook. And personally, I think that women should actually be reported 100%, no doubt about it. And she should be arrested, because what she's doing is the atrocity she's causing, is the crime, is evil, and it's also criminal what she's doing. And then someone say, nowadays, lazy people think farming is for failures, especially college leavers. They will prefer sitting home begging for 20 bob, but they can't even plant sukuma wiki and sell or tomatoes. But it's because of what Sasha said already, that they've been taught that farmers it's a dirty job and it's for poor people. Anyway, moving on. Thank you very much, our viewers, and thank you very much for people making our viewers feel at home. Thank you. Now we're going to open this forum for discussion. So yeah, let's open the forum for discussion.
So what does that mean? We just begin talking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll start with
Can I go first?
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Sheila, for taking the ball with the head.
Okay.
With the end.
I have many things to say, and it's all over the place, but it's open discussion. I'll start with this. How we use language normally goes a long way to guide the conversation. For example, if a girl has been raped somewhere, let us say a girl called Sarah has been raped. If you say, Sarah has been raped, and you frame the conversation around Sarah being raped, you'll end up talking about Sarah, where the rape happened, what she was wearing, what was she doing. You'll even reach the character. How is Sarah's character? However, if you say, somebody raped Sarah, yeah, you put an subject, an object and a subject in that. So it's like someone raped Sarah. The focus would be on the person that did this to Sarah. So you would have a criminal here. You'll have a perpetrator here. And Sarah will become the victim of this crime. So the focus would be on who did this to Sarah. And therefore you'll find you've changed the focus altogether. You have put someone there that did this to Sarah. So here when we talk about slavery, we're like, Africans are slaves and this, but we're not mentioning the slave master. And it is not by accident. It's the way the language is done. It's been crafted so well that we can speak about slavery of Africans and mention here and there, but we don't mention the slave master. And there is a slave master. There is a slave master who we mentioned in these discussions when we've discussed about food security, when we've discussed about the slavery, the camps and the UN and all these things. When Sasha has spoken about the education that we receive, there is a slave master. When we've spoken about Walter has spoken about the food security and the raw materials, there is a slave master. There is someone that is benefiting from the slavery of Africans. There is someone. Now, how this is very multi-pronged or tiered, like, you know, the tiers in the UK now, tier 1 to tier 5, we have that mother who is doing this domestic servitude. So in Kenya, it will be a Black woman, a Kenyan woman, mistreating, enslaving her own poor relatives. But the Kenyan woman herself, she could be enslaved at work. Remember, when we've spoken here, Dr. Ben spoke he tiered the slavery, and he said, when you are working against your will, when someone is owning you because they pay you, that is some form of slavery. So you'll find that this Kenyan woman that is enslaving her poor relatives is also being enslaved maybe by her husband because he's keeping her. or she's being, and the husband is being enslaved by the employer. So you find there is a bigger slave master and little tiered, little slave masters that are not really slave masters. They're all reporting to the big slave master, who now we are not mentioning. We're saying Sarah was raped. We're not saying someone raped Sarah. And when we want to have discussions like this, you get the comments of like, oh, Africans like complaining all the time. We shouldn't talk. Africans are their own enemies. Again, this is protecting the slave master. It's like, shh, keep quiet, don't talk. Keep quiet, you talk about the slave master. No, we don't talk about the slave master. We don't say who raped Sarah. We simply talk about Sarah was raped. It is all crafted. It is all a game. It is all one thing. And it is to protect the slave master. We are all being played. When Naima here comes and says, there is another form of slavery that's happening in the UK, and he's saying that we shouldn't feel we are safe, the slavery that's happening. And yes, it's happening. It is the same slave master. If you follow this path, you always go to one slave master and you always go to one slave. The slaves are always the same people. So if when you go to Libya, which is geographically African, you will find it is the Black Africans that are slaves to the Arabs and the Berbers, I don't know how to pronounce that word, but you'll find that when you go to UAE in the Middle East, you'll find it's the Blacks that are slaves to the Arabs. When you come to the UK, you'll find it's the Blacks that are slaves. So it is always the Black people that are the slaves. And they're always slaves to the lighter race. And the lighter race are the Arabs and the whites. But we don't talk about these things. Now, the irony of this is that whenever we want to talk about solutions to slavery, we always go to the same people that are enslaving us and expecting, it's like the rat going to negotiate with the cat about how the cat will not be eating the rat. You know, madness. And it comes down to what Sasha said, mental slavery. There is nothing that happens on this world on the physical level that did not start at the mental level. So there is the mental slavery. So even all discussions we have, as long as we are not tackling the mental aspect of things, I tell you, we'll not solve anything. Now, the mental slavery, it simply means there's a software in our heads that has made us very ripe for slavery. It has made us so ripe that we are very accepting of it. Or it has made us so ripe that even when we want to grapple with it, we don't know where to start. We start with the language whereby we are protecting the slave master. So we're just talking amongst ourselves. And this is whereby we need to start looking at things. And this is whereby we go to where the rain started beating us. And in Africa and anywhere else where there's Black people, I'm going to tell you how this slave mentality, the mental slavery gets in our heads. Because before we start talking about physical slavery, it first of all started as mental slavery.
Sheila, would you let somebody to answer, join in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's a debate. Everybody's quiet.
Okay.
It's a debate. So you need to interject when someone is talking. Just interject and say, yeah, I agree with you, but yes. But it's like this, the first segment where everybody was just giving their points. Now it's a different segment where we're discussing. So you need to interject when someone is talking, of course, with respect. Yeah?
I want to interject with respect before I forget things I wanted to say. Do I have the permission?
Yes, sir.
All the speakers that have spoken now, they have spoken very, very important points. Like I wanted to declare an interest when I came to this conversation, because I knew that this slavery and trafficking is a very wide subject. I came in as a clean sheet. I didn't do any research. I didn't do nothing. I just said, I'm going to join this conversation and we have a chat. Thank you, Sister Nema Ahmed Akwaba, Sister Mbote Sarafin. You have spoken so many beautiful points. But Sheila, you have touched my heart. You spoke about mental slavery. That brings in a point of what panelists think about culture, our African culture. We are brought up from a younger age as macho people, like your parents will say, go on, my son, go on, my daughter. You know, this world is not soft. Utapata tabu, utahangaika. So even if somebody abuses you, you just think that it is okay. I was told that I'll get hardship for me to succeed. I don't know what the audience thinks about that. That's what Onet said. Anybody can interject at any time. But at the same time, before I finish, I wanted to register another interest. In my course of duty, I have rescued girls and boys and relatives as well. I think it must have started from relatives are rescued in the Arabian Peninsula who have been victims of violence and abuse and exploitation and trafficking. It reached at one time that I used the American troops that were based in those countries to go and rescue these girls who have been abused. They are in a situation that they can't leave. Why am I bringing this story here? I'm bringing this story to develop the point that at whatever point of this conversation, I would be happy if we form another organization as members here who are present on this panel that can tackle this issue. Because what I realized in the course of my duty as a broadcaster and a journalist, those people out there, they've got nobody speaking on their behalf. These abuses, wherever they are, whether they're in Europe, wherever they are, and that brings you Sister Nema. You see, Sister Nema is talking to the police. I talk to the police every day. I work with the police on different issues. When it comes to that issue, they have got nobody to talk to. So if we form a platform like a small organization and we put ourselves out there and say, hey, we are here. If you want to talk about trafficking and domestic abuse and slavery and all that, we can deal with that. I'm happy to escalate that view and vision. And if somebody wants to share that with me, I will appreciate. Sister Shoshana Mbote Serafini, I've sent you a message. I want to get in touch with you in terms of knowing where you are in Tanzania. I'll send you a private message. I rest my case.
Yeah, thank you so much. But I think with that joining for organization, that was a very, very good idea, because the more we are, the stronger we are, and the better we are. People will listen. And I like your screen behind, say, be heard, be seen. But I think with that as well, sometimes it's good to join something that is there already in existence, and Afruka is there in existence. So I think probably if we can join forces with Afruka as well and make it bigger, and then now we can, and then within the Afruka, if we have separate departments, these people can deal with.
I object to that.
Okay, why sir?
I can't talk on air on this, but this is why I say, somebody said here, Sister Sheila, that it was Sister Ahmed, there is a fire brewing up within ourselves here. And that fire I'm talking about is where I was sitting watching this program. We're all having coffee and tea, but Sister Mbote Serafin is having juice, cold juice. Somebody I said this is exploitation. But what I wanted to say is it is very important, we as people, to develop ourselves. We work with you start your own thread. Kama unashuka kanga, if you are making a cloth, look for your own thread. Don't put yourself in a situation that you get swallowed. This is what I'm looking at. Because Afruka has got its own vision and what they are doing now and their objectives and all that. I've been on their website this morning. I saw they have changed even some of the objectives that we started with. And I'm looking at, this is not their cup of tea at the moment when I looked at their website. It needs a different approach.
Can I come in briefly just to help from what you're saying? Yeah. So it wouldn't be bad to have maybe a community group, whatever name you want to give it, so that you'll be able to tackle whether it's modern slavery, anti-trafficking within the community. We at BASNet, that is the project of Afruka, will be able to help, because what we do is we do have other organizations. It's a network of organizations within the modern slavery and anti-trafficking sector. We need to have a voice. We need to create a hub. We need the bigger stakeholders to hear us, to understand us, so that when we are coming up with policies, any documentation, they will be able to consult us. Because what is lacking within the modern slavery and anti-trafficking sector is equality and inclusion. And we need to present that front. So the more, the merrier. We will be able to then come together with a collective voice to input whatever policies, whatever laws that are being made out there. Africa is doing amazing. In fact, that's why they're trying to channel all these platforms around so that we will be able to come together. So if you want to do that, it will be good, especially even if it's focusing on the Kenyan community, it will be amazing. That's the Kenyan community within UK, within Europe, it will be amazing. We need to reach everyone. We need to save everyone in the line of chain or whatever the English word is.
Sorry, what I was quickly suggesting, and this is food for thought, while we are talking, people should think about this. Let's start our own thread. When we start our own thread, then we look for partners to work with, like Africa, and because Africa, they are big, they have got a big pocket, a big budget. They can always sponsor us and tell us this is what you can do. But let's start our own project, our own thread, our own thing with a different name. Then we can work with the whole world. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this is a debate. Walter, Ken, Sasha. Sasha is quiet.
Okay. Let me. Okay.
Ken, go ahead. Ken, go ahead.
No, okay, so it's the lady.
Oh,
Sasha first. Ladies first.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm humbled. So I want to concentrate on the topic, which is slavery. So what I wanted to say is that before you enslave someone, you have to dismantle them of their power. You have to strip them of their power. And this is what happened to Africa. We were one, then we were divided into 14 units in Berlin. And as Africans, we were taught greed, which was not part of us. Because if our ancestors were greedy, we would not even be where we are today, because they fought for our freedom by denying themselves a lot. But in our generation, we've been mental enslaved to be so greedy. It's just me, you know? So what I usually tell every girl that I train in the spa industry, I always tell them to make sure that at least they train another 10 from their village to make sure that they get out of poverty. You know, another thing that has powered slavery for a very long time in Africa, it is politics and religion. Because these two things have caused a lot of death in the world. Because if you're teaching me that my religion is better than my neighbor's religion, and sometimes I'm taught to hate them, or if my political views are different with yours, I'm taught to hate you. These are the things that really, really dismantled us. So we were together, but we were dismantled with these things, and we kept on being taught about greed and more greed and more greed. So from the continent to borders, which are countries. From countries, there are members of parliament of this area. From those ones, there's the chief, and everybody wants to be a boss. Nobody loves to be poor. Everybody, as a human being, you're created to want power. But how are you using your power? Are you using your power to dismantle your own people, or are you using your power to build your own people? Look at the Asians. When one Asian opens a business, all the Asians in that community are going to support that person. That doesn't go so well with us Black people all over the world, even in the diaspora, not only here in Africa. The same thing with Europeans. They are united. They are united. And what I want to say is that our house divided shall never stand. So we need to start asking ourselves as Africans, what are we doing to fight for us to be united so that we can build common goals? Common goals that are going to build our communities. Why are we building mega churches while we don't even have hospitals to go in? Why can't we build mega businesses? Why can't we build mega banks? Why can't we build mega malls that are going to benefit our communities? So these are the things that we're supposed to be discussing. But then again, it still goes back to greed. Like when I was in South Sudan, We were told to raise money that we are going to buy farms in Konza City in Kenya. We had been promised it's going to be the biggest city in Africa. The biggest city in Africa is in Stanton in South Africa. So I think this one was gonna be massive, bigger than that. So we contributed money. And who are the people who are oppressing us? People we are supposed to respect. The Bible says, I should respect my elders. How can I respect my elders if they're the ones who are oppressing me? We raised money. People the age of my dad disappeared with our money. So we have a lot to work on as a community to be able to build us. We have a lot to heal as a community. Look at how our men in Africa, how they treat women. We have, our graves are full with defenseless women. Every day you wake up. Today I was just reading, there's another lady who was killed in Nairobi. Every day you wake up, there's an African woman being killed somewhere. These men who are killing them, they are also being oppressed at work. So we are just, all of us, we have so many kinds of trauma since childhood. Go back to our education system. Kids are beaten every day in school, being forced to learn things that are foreign to them instead of empowering them with that which is ours. So there's a lot to heal in our land.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sasha, because you're saying something very important. And one thing I always say when I go for interviews, I always say that we can't address issues from the surface and expect things to change. We have to address the issue from the foundation of it. And what's the foundation of these issues? Is the values. I don't know, I forgot the New Deal. That's the name on the screen. New Deal spoke about...
Journalist Ayub.
Journalist Ayub, yeah? Journalist Ayub spoke about culture. And now that brings about a very important point. We have lost the values of the society. We have lost the values of our systems. We are operating in a system that we do not understand and does not belong to us. The education system does not belong to us, and it doesn't prepare us for the system that we want to nurture right now. The religion that Sasha just mentioned is a big impediment to our growth as a people. Not that religion is bad. I don't know. I'm not so much into religious issues, but I believe that one of the issues we've had is religion. One of the biggest tools that have been used to enslave us mentally is religion. Religion has even taken us from our culture itself. So if your religion is taking you from your own culture, how do you appreciate that religion? If I'm supposed to respect my culture, but my culture conflicts with the religion that is Western, which one should I go for? Most of us will go for the religion because that's what we have been taught. So when we are talking about these issues, we have to go back to the foundation of it. What are the values that we've lost? We've lost simple values like empathy, a simple value like caring, a simple value like thinking, okay, our people are suffering in Middle East. How can we come up as a community and solve this issue, even if the government is not doing something? Why have you not seen Black people going to the streets to protest about what's happening in Libya or happening all over the Middle East? It's because we as a people have lost empathy. We've taken up values like individualism. That's not meant for us. And people who live in the diaspora even have bigger problems. Like journalist Ayub said, and someone else said on the comments, and even Neema. People living in the diaspora have a completely different kind of conflict they're dealing with. But if we're dealing with these personal and in-depth issues within our own lives, how fit are we to tackle the major issues happening out there? How fit are we mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and even with regards to education? If the education system is Western, if we are here in the diaspora because of their system is so good, how are we going to tackle the issues back at home? If we view things from the lens of the West, every single thing, be it education, be it religion, be it how we deal with people, everything is viewed from the lens of the West. How are we going to solve issues in Africa that are contextualized within Africa? So I believe that one of the issues we have is that the structure we are operating in, be it socially, be it economically, be it politically, the structure is completely Western. The game is not ours. We are playing a game that we do not understand. We're surviving and we're not living. All of us are surviving. Until we go back to the foundation, which is the values of the society, until we ask ourselves, what were we doing before all these things happened? What were we doing before capitalism came? What were we doing before religion came, the Western religion as we know it? What are we doing with our education system? It doesn't mean we have to even scrap it at once. We have to bring in those values in one by one. We have to teach these things in school. Like Ayub mentioned, we have to talk about our cultures and look at the benefits of our culture and how it can help us solve these current issues we're facing now.
Okay.
Can I respond or?
Okay. Let me just finish.
Okay.
It's what Ken just spoke about, if we have to go back to who we used to be, I think barter trade, and I'm going to speak as someone who has traveled widely in Africa. I've been to so many African countries, and like I was talking about this, dismantling our power. It is easier for me right now to travel with a Scandinavian visa in Europe than it is for me to travel within the continent with an African passport.
You were right.
Yes, so it is very hard for us to trade in between us. But if someone is bringing something from China, because the people at the top, the exploiters will benefit from it, a Chinese will be able to run a business better here in the continent, better than me, than the way it's easier for me to take something and go with it to Nigeria. I reach at the border, there is always someone there to oppress me, someone to try and look for ways to say that probably I'm carrying the wrong things. They can even impose drugs on you. So it's a very, very diverse problem for us.
If I'm to ask you something, let me ask you a question based on that. Our question is, right now in Europe, when Nema talked about the new form of slavery, I actually thought she was going to talk about something I was discussing with Sheila yesterday, which is the traveling ease with the passports of the West, which is another thing that I believe is enslaving our people in the West. A lot of our people in the West right now stay in countries where they cannot thrive economically, socially, or politically because they are waiting for the passport of the West. Now, the question here is, instead of us working to make our passport accessible within Africa and traveling free and trading freely, we are very busy waiting for passports in the West. I can tell you 90% of Africans in the West are sitting there because they are waiting for passports. Sometimes waiting for that passport takes you 30 years. What are you going to do after 30 years if you're 30 at the moment? This is the main problem we have. So even if you have a Scandinavian visa and it's helping you travel in Africa, but what should we do? The question, what should we do to change that situation? Because now we are now focusing so much on the difficulties we have as Africans, but we haven't actually focused so much on how can we solve these difficulties? What do you think now that you travel in Africa yourself?
I think, can I come in?
Okay.
I just wanted to try to answer that then with Seraphine. Have I got your name correct? Yeah. With your experience of traveling within Africa, I think you can buttress that with it. I think our negotiation power as a continent and then as a country is based on individual benefit. It does not benefit a generation. It does not benefit a community. It benefits individual. It benefits the president and his family. It benefits the politician. It benefits the Alaji somewhere and the Alaja somewhere. And it benefits the moguls of money. It does not look beyond what generation will be beneficial. This negotiation that I'm going with France, with UK, with Germany, will it be beneficial for the generation years to come? No, it doesn't come that way. You're talking about Scandinavian visas and all that. Somebody will be extremely happy to stay 30 years within Germany, within UK, to get this passport, than stay within, say, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Rwanda, whichever African country, and not getting any benefit out of it. The difference is that someone living in these European countries, even if he's living illegal, he knows that at the end of the day, the illegal money that I'm getting, if I convert it, will be far more better. And this is what our leaders are forgetting to look at, that the development agenda of our continent should be beyond an individual. We should think about the generation that we, in fact, our unborn children. When the Westerners are developing their countries, they are not thinking of the now. They are thinking of the legacy I'm going to live 100 years to come. And what he seeks to benefit is that when the next generation comes, they will be able to mention your name. But then our politicians are thinking of, what am I going to get now? Who is going to mention my name now? Which TV station is going to glorify me now? He's not thinking of leaving a legacy for the generation. And that is our problem. And I think in all that, it still comes to our mental slavery. We are so clogged up that everything good has to come from the West, even though we have everything. We have everything that needs to make us good, everything that needs to make us rich.
So I will answer, Ken.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes, so I'm going to answer Ken. He had asked me a question and how we are going to fight that. We cannot be able to fight this because this is a system has gone on for a very long time. My country, Kenya, just turned 57 years after independence. Kenya is 57 years old. My grandfather died waiting for the promises he was promised. My mom and dad are aging. I am now their third generation. Nothing has come forth. And all this goes down because we are broken, like I said, from the house to the highest office. How are we going to fight this? I say Asians and Europeans are very, very, very powerful because they empower first to the 10th generation. In my generation right now, at least my grandfather left me something. In my generation, because of bling blings and social media, showbiz and everything, we are not even leaving anything for the next generation. So we continue to be broken and broken as the African people. So for us to be able to fight this, we have first to unite as Africa. We have to unite. We have to have a common African passport for us to be able to do barter trade within the continent. We had a very good opportunity when there was all these lockdowns. This was our time for us to do it. But again, we don't have the right leaders. Our leaders, if they're not gonna divide you with xenophobia, like what you see in South Africa. South Africans are fighting Nigerians who happen to be Africans. In Kenya, in my country, I'm a Kikuyu. I'll be fought because I'm a Kikuyu, or I'll fight a Luo because he's a Luo. You know, so we are broken. A house that is divided will never stand. We need to educate our people that these were systematic oppression ways that were brought to us to divide us so that they can rule us. Why are they ruling us? Because we have everything. We do not need them. They're actually the ones who need us. They come here, exploit our gold, our silver, uranium, copper, silver, take it abroad, then come and sell it back to us. Like somebody said here, they take our coffee. Why can they bring those things here? Why our leaders waiting, still accepting for us to be exploited? 57 years after independence, so that one Kenyan can be served by 40 million Kenyans. What will happen to our next generation? That's my question.
Okay, if I could answer that, some of the questions you raised.
Sheila, let Walter say something.
Oh, sorry.
Walter has been waiting because he's a man. He's been patiently waiting.
But
thank you.
I've listened to everything, and just to say, maybe in summary or in conclusion, that to end this modern day slavery and trafficking, because they're two different things. And as Nema has pointed out, in the UK, even back at home, if I look at, when I talk of home, I talk of Africa as a whole, you have a lot of influence from the social media, which is luring our young people into other areas which you do not know, you never know. And there's a lot of, I work in enforcement as well, and there's a lot we see in the background of things such as, I'll go to drugs and money laundering, whereby you think your child is doing something, but they are moving away to some other areas you don't really know. And you'll never know until it's too late. One time you see a child with the nice trainers, nice laptop, nice this, but you don't know how they're getting access to that. That is a form of slavery which is happening today. And it's a form of slavery, not slavery, form of trafficking. Let me put it that way, not slavery. Slavery in our minds, we have it where people are in boats, in shackles and everything else. That is not the slavery we have today. The slavery we have today is much vast because people have freedom of movement, migration is vast. So if anybody needs anything, people are in a vulnerable position, right? Now, to end modern day slavery and trafficking, we need a multi-faced approach, right? Where we look at an array of things, the vulnerabilities that people are going on, which are social, economic, cultural, legal, and we can't say one size fits all. We can't say one solution that we have for Africa is the same We can't say the solution that we have in Kenya is the same as Nigeria. We can't say the same solution in Uganda, Burundi is the same. No, we have different things going on in those places. We have situations whereby people are being forced, where it's part of slavery and human trafficking, like in the military, where people are being forced into military areas to do certain things. I'll talk of Eritrea and Burundi that I know of, right? Where you have to go into the military for you to be there, and you're hard. And if you don't go and your family is in a position of vulnerability, you end up doing things you don't need to do, right? And we have areas where people are forced into areas such as construction, prisoners going to construction of roads and other things. Those are forms of elements of slavery. But to get rid of all this, every sector, every country has to address what is within that area. We can't say one solution fits all. One solution does not cater for all. If you have children being exploited, young girls being exploited into marriages in certain areas, it doesn't happen everywhere. It happens in certain communities, certain cultures. So we need to address these issues, which have to be addressed as a global community, just like the environmental issues that we address, they're addressed globally. It's the same way with the issues of trafficking and slavery and modern day slavery have to be addressed globally. It is not a one person problem or one country problem. It's a world problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sheila, you wanted to say something?
First of all, I'll start by answering a question that one of us asked. The journalist asked, is it in our culture the African culture where we're told we're born to suffer, that you have to suffer to get this? That is not African culture. That is something that we were taught. It's a corrupted form of culture. We have to know that our culture has been corrupted so badly that now when we think of African culture, we think of harshness, meanness, these horrible things. Our culture was not like that. Our original culture was aligned with nature. Anything that's aligned with nature, it is simple, it flows, it's easy, it seeks joy, it seeks high vibrations. So anything that tells you you must suffer, that is not African culture. That is something that has come for the oppressor to make you aligned to suffering, to make you accepting it. So that is not African culture. So whatever that we were taught to be told, oh, you must suffer to get this and to get that, that is just brainwashing. We should reject that. And the other things that we have to reject as we think of a solution to this are the things that give us mental slavery. I mentioned some of them here, but I'm going to mention for you in a package what they all are. At the top of it, there is religion. Religion is the #1 cause of mental slavery, especially the ones that tell you, don't focus on the world here. There is the world coming better there. You suffer here, wait for the other one. And then it gives you a God that doesn't look like you, a God that looks like another race. So you become very ripe to be exploited by that race because they represent God. The other thing is education. The education that you are getting is teaching us to be slaves. The things we are not taught to live in the world, we are taught to be slaves. So the education that we're getting is taking away from our nature, is breaking us further. Then we've got the law. The things they call the law is actually man-made laws. These are not universal laws that are aligned to nature. These laws are breaking us. Then we've got the sex and gender connotations that are there. You know, men do this, women do this. Again, what we have, the patriarchy, the misogyny, the bigotry, all these things that we've been taught that are now part and parcel of the fabric of the society, these are breaking us. Then we've got the politics. There is no single African country that you will see which its politics is working for it. None of them. And it's because that is a wrong model, it's a Western model. It is breaking us further. There is the economics, these financial systems we're talking about. These are an African. And that is why our currencies are always the weakest. This is why we are always the poorest. We're told we are poor. Yet we've got the biggest landmass. We've got the best agricultural land. We've got the brains. We've got the people with the melanin. We've got the weather. But our money is always, our currency is always the poorest of it all. There is no African currency that competes in the stock market. None of it. Ken is a finance coach here. He will tell you when it comes to Forex, the African currencies are not there. These monies that we are having are making us poor as well. the things we are now calling entertainment. I mean, if you look at this framework, the whole fabric of the African society as it is right now, what we are normalizing, what we are teaching, what we are taking as our culture, as our environment, all of it is after the Western model, and it is furthering white supremacy. And white supremacy is what is at the heart of slavery. It is what is at the heart of the mental slavery, the physical slavery, and our brainwashing and our low self-esteem and our lack of empathy. We don't know how to relate to each other. We don't have the empathy because we have far too much trauma. And why we are not taking care of the next generation, why we have this greed, the way we say we were taught greed, similar thing to say Sarah was raped. Who taught us the greed? We're supposed to put names on it. Then that way we'll know we shouldn't follow the ways of these people because these people taught us greed. So we need to put names on this. And to finish, one of us here asked the question. Let me see what the question, oh, the passport. Ken asked Sasha, what do we do with the passport? We go back to our history. We have to know that our history, when we say Kenya is 57 years old past independence, when you start tearing, when you start looking at your history from the point the colonialists came, and you start putting your age from the point of the colonialists, you're starting at a point of disadvantage. You're starting at a weak place. Kenya is much older, not Kenya, the people that are Kenyan people. Remember, Kenya is also a name that we were given, yeah? The people that are Kenyan people are the oldest people on the world. The African people are the oldest people in the world. We existed beyond 57 years. We existed before we were colonized and oppressed. We were here. All other races found the African race here. So we need to go back to how are we? And when we go back to how are we, we'll find that these colonial borders, this Kenya, Tanzania that require passports, these are things that are not ours either. We did not require passports. We were crossing across the whole continent, left, right, and center with no passports. They were not there. So if we want to solve this passport thing, first of all, we have to acknowledge it's a Western system, and we have to acknowledge that whenever we play the Western system, we as Africans, we always fail. We cannot play the Western system and win for the sole reason it is misaligned from us as African people because it's against nature. So for us as African people to solve the problem of slavery and to solve any other problem we have as an African people, we need to go back to things that are quintessentially African, things that work for us as Africans. And these things, we don't get them post-colonial time. We don't get them during colonial time. We get them pre-colonial time. So there is need for us to go to our history, to know our real history. And when we get to know our real history, we start getting our power back. We stop being the poor Africans, the victims, you know, the ones who are enslaved, the ones who have to go and wait for 30 years for a Western passport, you know, the ones who have to sit down and call the UN to come and help them, you know, have peace and conduct peaceful elections. We need to go back to know who we are. And to get there, we need to go back to our real history, our real culture. And that cannot be found in the religion, in the education, in the politics, or whatever things that we have now. We need to go way, way back. And it's very easy to go there if we just commit to it. The final thing, we should stop calling to unite. It is not unity that we want. It is healing of our trauma. It is cleansing ourselves and being our best selves, you know, going back to who we are physically, who we are mentally, emotionally, spiritually. When we go back to that position, and that is something you do for the self, unity will be an inevitable byproduct of that. But you cannot talk of unity when you yourself, you don't even have harmony within yourself, because what is within you is a Western framework in an African body. So rather than saying, let us unite ourselves, we should say, let us heal ourselves. And how do we heal ourselves? By going back to that original self. And that is going back to that physical diet that is for the African. That we talk about food security. We have to go to the physical diet that is for the African. Right now, we are not eating diet for the African. We are eating a slave diet. Food that's not for the African. That's why we have all these illnesses. We have to go back to the mental diet that is for the African. Right now, the mental diet that we have is not for the African. We need to go to the emotional diet that's for the African. Right now, this greed we are talking about and all this, these are not things for the African. Well, then the most important thing, we need to go back to the spiritual diet that's for the African. Because right now, with these Western man-made religions, that's not a spiritual diet for the African. Immediately we go back to this diet for the African, we'll never say let us unite. It will be a natural byproduct because unity is part and parcel of the African. The healed African is united by nature. And the healed African does not sit there pointing fingers at the leaders and saying, oh, we need leaders to do this. These leaders that we have right now are products, they are puppets of the Western system. They're answering to their Western slave masters. So let us not sit there and say, oh, we need the leaders to do this. No. This is what we do for the self. So people, diet for the African body. When I talk African body, mental body, emotional body, physical body, spiritual body, get that diet right, and you'll see us healing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to quickly chip in on that. My sister, Sheila Chebet, has spoken with so much passion and very interesting points. She reminds me of Margaret Thatcher here in the UK, but I wanted to quickly enlighten her on 2 points when she started her conversation and spoke about African culture, how good it is. I think Sister Mbote Seraphine will support me on this. You've been to Southern Sudan. When you go towards the Yei, Yei areas, you will find the Dinka people, how they initiate their children into manhood. You walk into a crowd and everybody has got a cane and a stick and they beat you all to death. And they say, now you are a man. That is our African culture. When you read Ngugi wa Thiong'o's work, I think, is it in Petals of Blood? Or the River Between, I think, whereby you have to, for you to be a man, I think that is in the Kikuyu, Kameno, and Kikuyu culture. For you to be, you are circumcised while standing and you are laughing. You don't have to show any pain. This is when you are called a man. That is our culture. When you go to other areas like in Nigeria, there's other parts, or even Ghana, so many things happen in our culture to initiate people into manhood, or to say today you are a girl, that are really, they fashion you to cruelty, to exploitation, and all other these evils that we are fighting now. That's what I wanted to say, unless somebody has got something else to add on.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, let me respond to that. May I respond to the culture bit just quickly?
Okay, go on.
What I have to say, I'm a student of African history. We are actually right now coming up with a big document of African history. It's going to be online because what we realize, a lot of Africans do not know how far back we go. A lot of Africans do not know that we are the oldest race, and we set everything in whatever it is in this world, everyone borrowed from us. So wherever every other continent you go, you'll find that the original people of that continent, including Europe, Americas, and everything, the natives were Black people. So anyway, going to the African culture, we as an African people, we revered blood. Any culture that purports to be African, but it draws blood willy-nilly, I can guarantee you that did not come from the quintessentially African culture. That is something we learned. And anything that has blood, we learned mainly from the Romans. The Romans came from the Greeks. The Greeks and the Romans came together. So a lot of these things that we have, whereby we are cutting skin, we are drawing blood, we are caning, we are whatever, that go back and research on the history. Not the history that is written by the oppressor about us, but our history of our own people. Go way, way, way back. When I say way back, way, 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 way back before we started interacting with other people. And when you go way back, you will find that we were people that were aligned in nature. We tuned ourselves with nature. You'll find that we are people that did not draw blood. When it came to matters to do with blood willy-nilly, like we are caning people, we are cutting skin, we are doing whatever, it was not to. It was something that had to be arrived at after serious interventions, and there were lots of things in place. So any of these cultures that we call African culture, I myself had to take a back seat because I'm going through this African history. And I've learned that a lot of the things that I took as African culture, they were not quintessentially African at all, at all. So what I'll say up to now, before we go further and talk about African culture, because we'll go to another different thing, is that we have to know any culture that harms us. Culture is a way of life, and a way of life must work for you. So anything that is your way of life that is working against you has to go. You cannot keep traumatizing yourself, doing things that don't work for you and call it culture and say, this is our way of life. No, your way of life must work for you. It must lead to your success, to your fulfillment, to your growth, to your satisfaction, to your enjoyment. If it's leading to pain and suffering and degradation and indignifying yourself and having scars and traumatizing, that should go. You shouldn't do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have you thought about female circumcision? Is it foreign to the African culture as well?
Just to answer you quickly, no, it's not African culture. If you look at the role of the clitoris and the role of the female birth organs and everything, you would find that how we approach that side, it is definitely not African, and patriarchy brought it, but that's a subject, that's another subject altogether. And if you follow it, you'll see the correct why patriarchy had to come and bring that in place. But no, it is not African culture. Keep following it, follow that path, keep going back. You'll find, no, it wasn't there, no.
Okay, all right. I can see there's a lot of comments here. This topic, Ayub, can you please make me back as a host, please? Because we are about to finish. So if you can go on those 3 dots there and press them, and you see, make me as a host, please, because we need to finish. Okay, because of time, I know we have so many people still watching, and yeah, people are still watching, and there's a lot of comments. I want to ask you a question, a panelist. Are we okay to continue with this topic next week? Because this is an area that we cannot just leave it the way it is right now. Because we've not spoken of solution, we've not spoken of the way forward, we've not spoken of, okay, so how are we going to handle this individually or collectively as a community or as a society or as a continent or as a government? Because we also have somebody here who wants to be a governor. So what can he do, or what can he put in place? What can he, to help with whatever we're talking about right now? And also, yes.
I would suggest quickly, before you cut us off, that since you are the host and initiator of this, I put my hands up. I want to join this conversation next time, but I would suggest we should have a WhatsApp group. You have our numbers so that we can continue with this conversation and see the way forward. We can't finish this thing from what we have here today, this medium of communication. Okay. Let's create a WhatsApp group, and we see other areas we can tackle. I hope other people agree with that.
Yeah, some people said yes. Even on Facebook, they say, yes, we need a part 2 next week. So yes, we're going to have part 2. And okay, I know last time somebody took, okay, I'll talk about that before we finish, just before we finish. Please, can you make me a host, please? Because we're going to finish. I need that.
You are.
No, I'm not. So I can't do anything here because I'm not a host, because I gave it to you. So go on those 3 dots on my name. There's 3 dots on my name next to mute. There's 3 dots on my name. Press it and you'll see, make me back as a host, please. Thank you very much. Okay, now, as we conclude, Sheila, is there anything you want to, we are concluding now, but we'll continue part 2 next week. We have part 2, so don't go deep again, because I know if you give Sheila a microphone, you will not get it back.
Okay, what I would say that what we need to know is that it's very important to have conversations like this. And sometimes when you have conversations like this, the trauma shows in our people, in that our people get very uncomfortable and they start saying, oh, you're blaming, don't go for history, don't do all these things. That is just the trauma showing itself, in that is telling you that when you're having that conversation that's going to give you power, it becomes very uncomfortable. It becomes very uncomfortable because you're stepping out of your comfort zone. My people, it is important for us to step out of the comfort zone, for us to heal, for us to get that growth. So do bear with us. This is also for the comments, for people that are saying we are blaming history. We are not blaming history. We are simply stating that we need to know where the rain started to beat us. And when we have conversations like this, we are laying the scope of the problem, because you need to know the problem for you to sort out the solution. So people, bear with us as we have these conversations. As uncomfortable as they are part and parcel of healing. Thank you very much for being with us during this discussion. See you next week.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Sheila. Okay, last word again, because we're coming back next week, so it's just not too much. Okay, so I'll go to Ken, please, our governor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I believe we've had a good discussion towards the end. It was firing up quite well, but time is not on our side. So I do believe that there's a general war against the melanin, against the melanated people. And we need to look at it from that perspective. We have to be honest with ourselves that this war is much greater than we look at it. It's from the international organizations, all the way to the national levels, all the way to the local levels, and mainly on the mind. So we must realize that we need a revolution of the mind before we can do so much. So we have to be... Thank you very much for being with us during this discussion. We have to be comfortable with the discussions that make us uncomfortable, like Sheila says. Most of these discussions will make us uncomfortable, but we have to be ready for them if we want to change things. And with that, I say thank you, and till next time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I'll go to Dr. Ben Koisaba had to leave us from the States. He was here as well, but he had to leave. So I'll go to Walter Nunga, please. Just remember, it's the just last remark.
Okay. That's a point taken. Very well noted. Now, just to say thank you to everybody who's been watching, listening. I want to say that our interactions come from you, the viewers who are viewing us and seeing us. Throw in the questions and we try and brainstorm, as Ayuba said. We can have another platform where we brainstorm together and come up with solutions, and even maybe have people who are maybe more enlightened in this area than ourselves. This is just the beginning. This is a very, very broad subject, which started more than 400 years ago, as we are told, but it started in the BC, you know, the subject of slavery and everything. We had our own systems long before. For us to get to the bottom of this, we need your participation, your input. And as we come as a smaller group, we achieve bigger things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Somebody just asked governor for where, and I'll say he's not a governor yet, Miriam, he's not a governor, but we are voting for him to come in as a governor of Nairobi, and that is Ken. Okay, and we want, because he promised us change, so we want to see change. Otherwise, we know where he lives. If he doesn't bring the change, we'll go to his house. that is him.
I promise radical change, not just change.
All right, that is fine. Okay, so I can see a lot of people saying, I disagree, I agree. We are going to discuss the disagree and the agree next time. Nema, Sheila, we have part 2. I'm happy we have part 2. Okay, so I'm going to go to Sasha, please. Just last remark, Sasha. Oh, Sasha, you're muted. We can't hear you. Technology.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now. Yeah, okay. So for me, my parting shot, I agree with what Sheila has said. And this is something that I need to remind you as an African child. Remember, our grandparents were shot for a very long time. Our parents were shot and they were passing it to us. Like, you want to speak and they just tell you you're a child, you're not allowed to think on your own. And these are things that we were programmed about to diminish our power. So when we speak about issues, and some of you say that we like to blame, that is something that you have been programmed, because they are diminishing your power. So when you speak about it, the first thing they try to tell you is that you like to complain or you are bitter. And mostly, especially when it comes to religion and politics in Africa, when you disagree with someone, especially on social media, like, I've stopped discussing some of the issues on my page because I get so drained, because this one will come and insult you, this one will come and tell you this, when they don't understand your frequency, when they don't understand your vibration. We have been taught to break each other instead of listening to each other and learning from one another. So if I am speaking about something that you disagree with, whether it's religion or politics, I am not bitter. And this is something that we should educate ourselves about as the African people, as the African children. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Somebody's saying that you don't have a coach. Where is this? Sasha is actually in Zanzibar right now. That's why when everybody's drinking tea, she's busy drinking juice, because she's in Zanzibar where there's heat. Okay, next I'll go to Ayub, please. Last remarks. Ayub, please.
Yeah.
Ayub, you're muted. You're muted.
First of all, I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity and doing a very good job. I want to thank all the participants who have taken their time out to come and be part of this. And I just wanted to say asante sana, salamu, kwaheri, midase, eria mabeyer. See you next time.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so now give this opportunity to our special guest today, Nema.
Thank you so much, Lydia, and thank you to the audience. In fact, I'm very grateful for letting me be part of the Kenyan community. I know by the end of this, you give me a Kenyan name. Please give me one. I need a Kenyan name.
Atieno.
What does that mean?
Atieno. Oh, you know what? Let me forget Atieno. I'll give you Achieng. Achieng means you were born when there was sunshine. So you bring light. When you walk in the room, you bring light. So you are Achieng. From today.
Accepted.
Achieng.
Accepted. Well baptized. Thank you so much. So I know the subject is very diverse. We need solutions and we need to be realistic with our input and discussion. I do appreciate this, and hopefully next week we will be able to come up with solutions that we will be able to work with within the community. Thank you so much, and I appreciate all the inputs that were made here. I've learned quite a lot. In fact, I've learned botch. I think that's the word, right? Botch. I've learned, yes. The Nigerians have their own. Ghana, we have our own. So at least in my diary, I've got botch there. And I hope I could come up with something with botch at the end of the day. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. Actually, somebody's fighting me here. Somebody said I should call you Mweni. Mweni means visitor. Yeah. Because the reason why, because you know, in Africa, we all have different dialects. So in each dialect, we have our own names and the meaning. So, because I'm from a Luo tribe, so Achieng means what I said, and that's actually my name. And then this lady here, she's from a tribe called Kamba tribe. So in Kamba tribe, there's Mweni, and it means a visitor. But let's just leave you with mine, okay? Let's just leave you with mine, Achieng, okay?
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you very much for my panelists today. Thank you for accepting this invitation, especially Nema, the special guest who actually last minute, and she said yes. And next week, again, we're here, same time. Walter, same time. Thank you, Sheila. Always a pleasure to have you. Thank you, Sasha. Always a pleasure to have you. These are power women. I'm always scared of them. And I'm happy when they're there. So I have to warn them prior. Hey, guys, because they are so passionate to do this. They believe in. And thank you very much as well, Ayub Mzee, for joining us today. And thank you very much, our governor as well, our Nairobi governor, for joining us today. I refuse to call you by name because I want to see you on that seat. So you are my governor. And thank you very much, Walter, as well, for joining us today. And a very, very special thank you to Nema as well, our special guest today. And again, next week, she'll be here with us as well. And before we go, I just want to say happy 2021. I pray for prosperity, success, focus, goals reached, health restored, healing, both physically, spiritually, economically, financially, mentally, especially mentally, because everything starts from here. Mindset. So mentally, mental illness from 2021 and beyond, not just now. And just to come back to something, I know people are talking about, we like complaining, but what I want to say is, in order for you to know your future, in order for you to know where you're going, you must know your past. You must know your roots. And that is what we are touching, the roots, the culture. So we are not complaining, but we have to, in order for you to know where you're going, you must know where you're coming from. Or in order for you to know your future, you must know your past. So past, we need to talk about it. Not that we're talking about it and we're bitter, we're talking about it so that we can heal and move forward as one. And now coming to COVID, one of my friends here had COVID last time. He took a COVID injection. That's what I wanted to say, and I thought, let me say it at the end. And he gave me, where is it? He told us what happened when he took the injection. I can't really see where he said, oh, there's so many things. So I can't even see where he gave me an answer, what happened to him. He took a COVID injection and we told him to come back here and tell us what happened to his hands. If his hands are still standing or they're gone. So I can't even see the answer. I know he gave it to us, but I can't see the answer. Yeah, okay, here. Last time, you wanted feedback on my corona vaccine. Well, my arm, last time, did not fall off. I'm okay and hoping to have maximum protection 9 days later. 10th January, my case. Tomorrow, I guess. So tomorrow, I think he's having another one, I think. So Thomas Arunga has taken the COVID injection. So anybody who is scared of taking the injection, you can talk to Thomas Arunga if you want the injection. Anybody who feels like I don't want to take the injection, nobody should judge them either. That's a personal decision. I want to take it, I don't want to take it. Personally, I'm really scared of it, but I told him I'll wait for him first to come back and tell us that his hands are still standing. So I think I can start thinking about it now. All right, COVID. Guys, before we go, COVID is real. I know some people are saying it's a scam. Whatever you want to say, that's your own, but it is real. I have a friend, I have two friends yesterday. One, somebody called me all the way from Sweden and said there's a lady in the UK, she's by herself, no husband, no children, no parents, struggling, no friends. I called this lady and to my surprise, this lady just lives near me here and she's on my phone, but we can't phone everybody all the time. So she was actually crying. She said she's by herself. She called the ambulance. The ambulance said, I will come and pick you after 6 hours. The next day, 7:30, the ambulance calls her and said, we are sorry we couldn't come and we still can't come because there's no hospital, there's no bed for you, there's no ambulance that can come and take you. So guys, this is real, and this is in the UK. And in Kenya, I can actually just go to a private hospital. There's still space for the hospital bed. So here in the UK, guys, this is real. Take this seriously. Stop playing with your life or someone else's life. So my friend, and then there's also another one, the dad collapsed on the stairs. He called the ambulance at 6 o'clock. The ambulance came at 10:30. The ambulance told them, just cover your dad. So between that time, this man could have died. So right now I'm talking to you, when they took him, he's still in ventilator from yesterday until today. They didn't take him on time. So we pray that he makes it. And all this is because of the hospitals are full because of COVID patients. Please, guys, please take care of yourself. This thing is real. Wash your hands, social distancing, wear your mask, avoid crowds. Those people are there. 2 years later, your friends are still going to be there. Use the phone. Now we have phone, we have Zoom. Please stay safe, take care.
Sorry,
and
Lydia.
love you all. Yes.
Sorry, Lydia, can you hear me?
Yes.
Just on the issue of COVID and everything else, I've been there. I called the ambulance. They never came.
Yeah.
10
in
hours
fact,
later, no one came.
You got COVID in March, innit? You
Yes.
were really sick in March.
Yes.
Yeah.
No one came for me.
No one came for him.
Yeah.
So it's real.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, everybody who is watching. My panelists, please don't go, stay there. Thank you very much, everybody who is watching. I'll see you again next week. I'll see you again. Guys, don't go. I'll see you again next week, same time, 5 o'clock. And we're here again tomorrow as well. People who are, if you're free tomorrow, please join us again tomorrow as we discuss women in business. And love you all. And thank you. Don't forget to forward. Don't forget to like, and don't forget to put your comments there. Even if we finish, you can still forward. Share. Thank you very much. Keep sharing. Love you all. Keep sharing. Thank you, Lydia, panelist. Well done, everybody. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. God bless.
At World Remit, we understand what the journey is about, how it can sometimes take a little distance to bring us a little closer together. With ways to save more when you send more, World Remit is here for you, so you can be there for them.